It was quarterback's day at the NFL Combine yesterday, and what does that mean for the Minnesota Vikings? Where they're drafting 23, they don't have a second-round pick. They can still move up. Like, Kevin O'Connell has not been shy about masking his love for some of the quarterbacks in this draft, notably Will Levis as well as Anthony Richardson. So could get a little bit spicy. Es muy caliente as we head deeper into the 2023 NFL draft season. But recapping what some of these guys did, and of course, it's the Combine. It's sort of like the Pro Day. How can you have a bad one? But a lot of these guys really check those boxes, man. They got after it. Number one, of course, is Anthony Richardson, the pride of Florida, where tested insane. And yeah, does it matter if your quarterback jumps 40.5 inches or broad jumps over 10 feet or it runs a 4.43 40? Not particularly. Well, the jumping is whatever. It's like, oh, but he can jump over the pile. But I think that Anthony Richardson right now is a running quarterback, but I think he can progress to a quarterback who runs. And right away, his speed and athletic ability, as well as size, I mean, he's the freaking size of a tight end, certainly could and should set him apart. And you look at Jalen Hurts early in his career with Philly. You look at Justin Fields right now with the Bears, where they use their mobility first, and then Jalen Hurts developed as a passer. I think Justin Fields can do that as well. I think Anthony Richardson, I think that his perfect situation is if he goes to a team where he doesn't have to start right away. Hence, Minnesota Vikings make a lot of sense. But the whole deep ball accuracy cannot be taught, man. So he blew the doors off the roof of Lucas Oil Stadium whenever he was dropping back and just effortlessly flicking the ball 70, 80 yards down the field. And a lot of stuff I know people are nitpicking is like, well, he can't throw the speed out. He can't do this. He can't do that. A lot of things can be fixed mechanics-wise, right? So, and also, if you're a coach around the league, if you're a decision-maker, and if you're Kevin O'Connell, you're like, mama, I can fix him. If we have more consistent footwork, and if he works within the framework of an NFL offense, I mean, a lot of these small things can get fixed, where I would rather have a guy who has some minor issues mechanically and has consistency issues on some short and intermediate throws, especially if they have to take a little bit of zip off the ball, which you can easily do, versus someone that you have to teach how to hit that back zone against cover two, or being able to hit a deep ball outside the numbers, right? So it's like working from forward to backward or backward to forward. But Anthony Richardson, I mean, he made himself some money. I think that there is a good chance that Anthony Richardson might be the number one overall pick by the time this is all said and done. Next up, another guy who made himself some money, Will Levis. So Will Levis, I mean, you actually do like the cocky attitude. And Richardson and Stroud are certainly very confident in themselves as well. And you want that as a quarterback. And Levis, despite him having an aversion to milk and liking mayonnaise in his coffee and eating bananas weird, like, he showed off the hose. Great velocity, great touch on deep ball, as well as corner routes, bang eights, all that stuff. He absolutely brought it. And the question is, Will Levis, he's got the size, he's got some good mobility as well. Like, he's certainly not in the realm of Anthony Richardson, but he can certainly move. And I understand why he is the diet Josh Allen version of this in this draft. And Levis, I think that you have a lot of questions about why his 2022 production dipped. Was it because of a porous offensive line? No. Star receiver like Wan'Dale Robinson like he had in 2021? Was the offense not conducive to his skill set? There's a lot of things that were very wonky this year in Kentucky. His 2021 season was arguably much better. But I think that you're betting on traits. See, that's the thing too, where you look at guys like Stetson Bennett, or back-to-back national titles, obviously checked a lot of boxes, did a lot of good things, put up some good stats in college. But yeah, and guys like Richardson and Levis, who also in the SEC, I mean, they weren't as accomplished in college as Stetson Bennett, but they have the size, they have the arm, they have the upside, and teams are betting on that. And that's why Levis and Richardson are seen as top 5 picks, and Stetson Bennett might be lucky if he is drafted day 3. Another guy who made himself some money. So CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud didn't test, but he threw, and he had himself a complete day. Daniel Jeremiah said it was one of the more impressive passing days for a quarterback out there. And also, what stood out to me, so everyone and their mom was there to see Anthony Richardson and Will Levis. And Stroud was in the same quarterback group as Anthony Richardson. So he was throwing head-to-head, toe-to-toe with AR. He did not shy away. And that's something that you want in your quarterback. And of course, CJ Stroud, back-to-back Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, he wasn't going to be shy. Right, but he made all the throws, good velocity, and also, more importantly, the mechanics were on point. Always throwing from a good base, always throwing a very catchable ball, short, intermediate, deep, and really had a grasp of a lot of the NFL concepts. And it was really clinical. Like, he really did put on a clinic. And I've said of the of the big four quarterbacks, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, Bryce Young, as well as CJ Stroud, I think that he is the safest of the quarterback. Obviously, it's a draft. You can't have a safe pick, but Stroud has the size. He has great arm. He's a guy that can contribute right away. He's got a good head on his shoulders, although he says he looked up to Michael Vick and Deshaun Watson. Also, he mentioned Joe Burrow in there, but that got cut off in the sound clip. But I think that he's a good kid. I think that he's revered by his teammates. I think that he's a gym rat. I think that he's a film junkie, and I think that he does have the highest floor out there. So I was just really happy that he did that. Plus, I was actually really happy that he didn't test, because Stroud, he's not a running quarterback. Like, he does have some decent mobility. He can move in the pocket, but you're not going to confuse him with Anthony Richardson or Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts anytime soon, right? Or Justin Fields, his predecessor at Ohio State. But he can move a little bit. But if he tests at his pro day, it's away from Anthony Richardson, because his numbers could be that impressive up against AR as it was. And the guy who didn't throw, so Bryce Young, he's waiting to throw at the second Alabama Pro Day, not the first, the second. And there's a bunch of reasons why he didn't throw. Where, the whole he weighed in at 204, baloney. I mean, the dude plays probably at 190. It is what it is. But, I mean, imagine you trying to operate when you have 14 pounds of like water weight just out there. So that wasn't going to happen. It's like, imagine you trying to operate and play the Turkey Bowl after Thanksgiving. That's exactly what Bryce Young would. And so I understand why he wasn't throwing out there. But Bryce Young, he can make all the throws. He has great anticipation. He really is Joe Burrow in this draft. But, I mean, he does have some question marks. The height is whatever. Like, the height is the height is the height. I mean, he's standing next to CJ Stroud here, and Stroud is 6'3", right? But what I liked about it is, Bryce Young, he wasn't participating, but he was with the group. He was listening to the coach's instructions. He was getting in the drills. He was talking with the other quarterbacks, talking strategy. He was given dap for great throws, and that's something that I love. I mean, these guys are ostensibly your competitors. These guys are the ones that if you drop in the draft, that's taking money out of your pocket. But the fact that you're building on camaraderie, I think it's a really good sign. I think that's also really good leadership and just intangibles from Bryce Young. And lastly, DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So he's a guy, the Vikings have met with him, and he's intriguing. And also, I think that he made himself some money, because everyone and their moms talk about, well, let's find the next Brock Purdy. I think DTR could be that guy in this draft, where he's 6'1", 205. He checks the boxes athletically. Like, he's not an insane mobility guy, but he can get things done. Especially in Chip Kelly's offense, it preaches mobility from the quarterback. He had 28 rushing touchdowns, but he answered a lot of questions about his mechanics, where a lot of these guys coming in from college offenses, especially Chip Kelly offenses, the throws are relatively easy, the reads are relatively easy, and mechanics wise, they're not always there. And even though DTR was a 5-year starter, and he did progressively get better, like, his mechanics weren't at the point where you're ready to say, hey, that's an NFL quarterback. But I think I read that he worked with Jordan Palmer, Carson's younger brother, who's been turned into a bit of a quarterback guru the last couple of years, where DTR worked with Jordan Palmer this offseason, and he looked night and day different. So big time props to DTR for putting in that work, where mechanics wise, he looked amazing. Like, he looked really, really good, almost clinical, almost as good as CJ Stroud to a degree, where DTR, he's got a good arm, not an insane arm, but a lot of intermediate throws he made with relative ease. And I think that he made himself some money, where he was seen probably as a mid to late day 3 guy. Maybe now he's an early to mid day 3 guy, maybe with some more upside once you get to the pro days and stuff. But he's really interesting. And like I said, if the Vikings don't make a move all the way up for one of the big 4 quarterbacks, which would cost a lot. I mean, snagging DTR in the mid rounds and then having him sit and develop. And does Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah see him as the guy? Potentially. But overall, I mean, it is a lot of fun. Like I said, it's hard to be bad at the combine, but a lot of people come in and saying that, this isn't a good quarterback class, or wait till next year for Caleb Williams and Drake May. Well, Dana Jeremiah brought up a really good point. So everyone in the ROM talk about, hey, just wait to get a quarterback next year. who's to say that the worst teams next year at the top of the draft won't go quarterback? Like, it's conceivable that it goes QB next year. And you could trade up all you want, but, I mean, teams that are bad generally have quarterback issues. So, Caleb Williams could go 1. Drake May could go 2. Quinn Ewers could go 3. I mean, hell, Penix could go 4. Right? So, whatever. But, trying to groove a spot and wait, we're going to wait till next year's quarterbacks. Now, like, if you have a guy in this draft, like if you're in love with Levis or Anthony Richardson, or the right guy falls and you have an opportunity to move up and go get him, go get your guy. Go get him right now. Go get him. So, but your thoughts are thoughts. Overview of the quarterbacks at the NFL Combine yesterday and what it means for the Vikings. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skull Production Value.